Hello and welcome to Beyond the Finish Line, the podcast for runners of every pace, every distance and every goal. I am your co-host, Georgia. I am a 5-time marathon runner and a content creator. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about all of things hybrid training, whether that's strength training, swimming, triathlons, high rocks, whatever it is that you fancy. We are going to talk about that today. We're going to do our highs and lows, and we have a couple of listener questions as well. But before I get into that, I better introduce my co-host, Matt, or Coach Matt, as everyone likes to call him now. He is a 5-time Ironman. He is an ultra marathon runner and a coach of the Performance Project, the fastest growing endurance.
Yeah,
oh gosh,
boy.
I got so close
Australia's
there,
fastest
Matt.
growing endurance community.
Thank you. The fastest growing endurance community in Australia. How are you, Matt?
Mate, killing it. Living the dream.
Good. I'm glad. I got so close there. I was like, yeah, I'm nailing it.
That was probably the best intro you've done. It was the first time it didn't feel like you were trying to remember what you were saying. You were just talking.
I was just talking. You know what? Whatever. I feel like every time we do an intro to this podcast, everyone has to listen to us being like, yay, we nailed it. Or, yeah, we can work on it a little bit.
Yeah. You've definitely got a lot better. Your first few ones, and I just sit here and it's like, it looked like you had like a bit of paper in front of you. You were reading.
I know. I now understand why you were like, let's not read from a script. And I was like, let's.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I'm never going to lose my day job and become an actor. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, we might become full-time podcasters.
Maybe. Well, hopefully. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Yeah. How has your week been? Your weekend? It is a public holiday today, so 3-day weekend.
Do you know, I didn't even realize until I looked on Instagram, so everyone was just like hanging out. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
public holiday.
You're like, oh, yeah, show must go on.
Yeah, it's like my life just doesn't change. It's Monday to Sunday, the same every week.
I know. Yeah.
Like good. Actually, pretty. You know what? I've actually got a low this week. Pretty friggin' tired.
Yeah.
Coming off that 50K ultra, I just jumped back into training probably 2 days too early and just dug myself a really deep hole, and I actually didn't train the rest of the week.
I've been there.
Yeah, so just probably jump back. If I had given myself an extra 24, 48 hours rest, I would have been a lot better, but just being eager and wanting to get into it, did it and probably did myself a disservice. So
yeah,
paid the price for that, but back to normal today.
Oh, good. What is it? Yeah, it's a week on since the
a week
ultra.
on,
Yeah, that's about right. Seems about right. I mean, you ran an ultra marathon. Let's not forget that.
Yeah. I sometimes I do forget things, like sometimes I do stuff and I'm like, oh, that's normal, but it's not normal. I forget that.
50 kilometers on the trail is not normal, but hey, you're training for 100, so I totally get it.
Well, yeah, sometimes you lose a bit of perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you, Georgia? You're out swimming today.
Yes, I know.
Triathlete,
so
Georgia. What do the kids say in your triathlon era?
What do the kids say? You sound so old, Matt. Someone who's never seen you, they probably think you're like 50. I'm really, really good. I did. I just went for a swim with some of our TPP athletes who are actually friends of mine. And yeah, we went to the pool. I did my longest swim ever, which was so exciting. I'm so proud of myself. I just did 2,100 meters. And I really pushed myself today to not stop as much as I would normally. I haven't been swimming in a while. So usually I'll do 100 meters, stop, 100 meters, stop, like that kind of thing. Whereas today I was really pushing myself to try and do 200 meters at a time. So I feel like if I can do that, I can slowly, like you would with running, just build up how much further you can go without stopping. And yeah. So I apologize if I sound a bit funny. We were just chatting off mic because I couldn't work out. I feel like I've got the worst allergies ever, but Matt said the chlorine can do that. Is that right?
When they first open the pool, so like outdoor pools have been closed all through winter. When they first open it up, sometimes the chlorine's got a bit of kick to it. So
yeah,
that'll balance out as the season goes. It won't be that bad in summer.
I feel like I've been stung by a bee or something. I'm just anyway, that's fine. But yeah, it was really, really fun. I'm just swimming with a pool buoy in between my legs just to protect my hips at the moment. They're still a bit sore, but eventually I want to be able to, not have to use that and learn how to do turns in the pool and stuff instead of having to stop and do like an awkward little like, shimmy and keep going. But yeah, and shout out to Justine. She made the most amazing cinnamon scroll focaccia thing for post swim and it was delicious. So
Bro,
good.
where's the invite?
It was
You're gonna try and steal my sport, and then you don't even invite me to get cinnamon scrolls.
I know
I was like, what?
I'm coming for Matt's triathlons here. Might take me a while, but I'm coming.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, so that's my high. I feel, it's really good. I had a run yesterday and today I have a swim and I think from now on I'm going to try and do a swim once a week because I really do enjoy it and it's the only real time I completely switch off because
Yeah.
I'm so concentrating on like fighting for my life in the pool that there's no room to really think about anything
Yeah.
else. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do
It's kind of like a
understand what you
time
mean.
warp being in the pool. It's like all
Yeah.
of a sudden you like get out and you're like, I have 47 notifications. Like the whole world's been moving and I've just been in this staring at this black line. Sometimes it's a bit of a trip.
Yeah, do you know what? It is actually like that because when I run, I still have my phone on me. I still get the notifications on my watch. I'm listening to music, all that kind of stuff, which I love. But going in the pool, you dead set, you don't have your phone. You can't. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really, really enjoy it. So, yeah, I'm going to do it once a week. And I'm going to have to because if I'm going to do this bloody triathlon, I have to get in the pool at some point.
Well, guys, you've heard Jojo say that. Well, when she starts training for her Ironman
Oh my God,
and she's got a
Sammy.
5K swim set, she's got to be in the pool for 2 hours. Let's see if she still enjoys it.
No, I can't imagine it. I just can't. I'm sorry. What's the swim on a half Ironman?
1.9.
1.9. So I just did 2.1 there and it took me 45 minutes. I was swimming
With breaks and whatnot.
yeah, with breaks, obviously. It was probably over an hour, obviously, but I was swimming 220 per 100. I've got no idea if that's good or not. I don't know. Is it like
It's
slow?
all relative. That is
Is
slow,
it?
yeah, but it's all
Yeah.
relative, yeah.
Okay. See, I got no idea.
But it's your first swim in however long. So like
Yeah.
that is not a true. That's like doing your first 5K time trial and being like, you've got nothing to base it off. You haven't been
Yeah.
training, whatever. So like, take off a grain of salt, mate.
Yeah, I honestly couldn't even care less. It's one of those things I just don't know anything about it. I don't care what my time is. That's was the first time that my watch has worked properly. So I was like, okay, that's a good starting point. But I feel like everyone has fins and snorkels and freaking hand fins and stuff. And I'm like,
Paddles, yeah.
yeah, I've just got little pool boy.
Well,
my new
to be
swimming
fair,
costume.
the majority of people who go to the pool, that's their sport. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
like you having carbon plated shoes and
Yeah.
track shoes and easy to shoes and race shoes. Like all their little toys are the same thing.
So when people are doing, how like on Strava you might see their swim and they're like super fast, but they've got fins on.
Mm.
Surely, like, do they say they've got fins on, or is that just like saying, you've got carbon plates on?
I don't care enough about Strava. Do not give a fuck.
No, I know, but like I'm just
I
curious.
don't, honestly, like I'm not I don't pay enough attention. Like a lot of people they wouldn't do a whole set with fins. Like if they're a
Right.
triathlete, they might just do like the warm up and the cool down with fins, or they might do a kick specific set. So it might be like every fifth 100 meter is with fins, and they're just focusing on really kicking hard rather than using their arms. So like
Right.
there'd be very few triathletes or even dedicated swimmers that would use fins for a whole set.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so
Same with pool boy,
interesting.
same with paddle, same with snorkel. Like you would just use them intermittently.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, my nose is like running like a tap right now. I feel like the entire pool is just coming out of it. So yeah, that's an interesting thing for me to start getting into, something different for a bit. I feel like I've not fallen out of love with running. That's definitely not true. I still love running. I just don't have the same passion to be doing it 5 days a week. So putting something different in is so fun.
Yeah, I think that's completely normal. Like I'm the exact same with iron. Like done the opposite. Like I am not super passionate about triathlon at the moment. Like I want to trail run, and that's all I want to do. I've just started bringing a little bit of bike and stuff back into my training. Now my rotator cuff's healed. I should be able to swim next week.
Yeah.
So I will do a little bit of triathlon training, but I'm still trail running.
Yeah, like we always say, guys, seasons. I feel like I'm in my tri season or tri era.
Yeah, boy. I'm NWA 2026. I can feel it.
Look, you feel all you want, Matt. You sit there and you feel away because it's not happening, but we'll see.
The Performance Project is going to have an insane number of athletes at IMNWA 2026. And Georgia, as a co-owner, you are contractually obligated to attend. So
when is it again?
It's December. It'll be the first weekend of December 2026.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Oh, she said, okay, guys, we'll take that as an agreement. That's law, is it law abiding? I can't remember. Contract,
whatever, but
something. She
contractually
agreed. That's the
obliged
point.
to go. Oh dear.
She agreed, and we have it on camera.
Oh my God.
I'll just edit it and to be like this, and then okay, and it'll just be the worst photo, like the video editing ever to make it look fake.
What do they call it? Frankenbiting, where you just cut it up so it sounds like I'm saying something else.
Yeah, exactly.
I can see that happening. I wouldn't put it past you. Instead of just agreeing with myself, I'll just be agreeing with you.
Yeah, perfect.
Good.
That's showbiz, baby.
Fuck off. I'm never living this down. And the worst thing is that you said it first, but I can't prove it. I still get messages about that, even now, because obviously people pick up the podcast later and they don't listen exactly on the day. I'm still getting messages like, hey, just letting you know. I get like 3 every, at least every day. It'll be like 3 years down the track and someone's like, hey, just letting you know.
I hope we get super popular and then all of a sudden there's just thousands of people coming in and be like, hey, just so you know, on like episode 35 or whatever it was, or 36, they're just like, this happened.
This happened. Well, that's another thing I didn't say in the intro is welcome to episode 38.
Guys, we're all over it, as you can tell. Australia's fastest growing running podcast.
Yeah, well, we got the sillies. It's a Monday off. I should be normally at work and I'm not. So
yeah. And I'm running on 4 hours sleep, so we're killing it.
We got the sillies. Well, today we're going to talk about hybrid training, and no, not necessarily high rocks, which is all about being a hybrid rock star. But this is all about like, how do you balance strength training, running, swimming, riding your bike, all these different things that maybe you're passionate about, and you might not just have one specific thing you're passionate about. Say like me, I'm super passionate about running, so a lot of my sessions are focused on running. Maybe you're a bit passionate about everything. So we are going to help you navigate that space, and who better to talk to than a coach? So Matt, tell us about like if you have a client come to you who is in the same boat. So maybe they're training for 4 different races that are all in different disciplines. How do you even begin to start with that?
The first is like priority.
Yeah.
So I say to all of my athletes, you can do whatever you want. You just can't do everything well. So you got to pick what you want to do well. So let's just, as always, we use Georgia as the guinea pig. Let's say Georgia came to me and she was like, I want to do a triathlon. I want to do a trail run. I want to do a sub 4 hour marathon, and I want to do an open water swim. Like, cool. What is your priority? You'd be like, sub 4 hour marathon. That is the A priority. Like that means the most to me. Cool. I will put in all of the work that is compulsory for you to do that, and then everything else will be pieced in and around to either help you get better at your sub 4 or move you closer to those other goals, but those other goals will move significantly slower.
Yeah. I mean, and the best thing about some of those other goals would be, swimming can help with running.
Yeah,
same with like riding on a bike helps with running. Going to the gym, that helps running as well. So that is always really positive. And yeah, I think we've spoken about this before, is where you have an A race, your B race, your C race. For example, last year, Sydney Marathon was my A race. London was my B race. It was never going to be, although at one point I did say we should do a sub 4 at London, and that went out the window pretty quick.
Yeah. We put that to bed.
We put that to bed. And that's a prime example where Matt's like, well, that's not going to help you for Sydney, which has always been your A race. So let's get your priorities kind of in check a little bit.
Yeah. I would say the second part of that is finding out what goals help other goals. So Georgia sort of started to hint on it, but like if your A goal was sub 4 hour marathon and then your B goal was you want to make the Olympics for equestrian, like those two do not go hand in hand. Like
No.
they do not help each other at all, right? So that's where you got to be like, okay, what's more important? But then if you're like, I want to do a triathlon and I want to do a sub 4 hour marathon, you're like, well, actually, all of the things within triathlon will actually help you towards your sub 4 hour goals. Swimming, cycling, strength training, all promote better running. So, and vice versa, running will help you swimming and cycling. So I always look at priority of what you want to achieve, and then I would see if any events sort of co-promote each other, so to speak, what universally work together. And then the third tier of that would be like what's completely just irrelevant to it. Like this is just actually taking away from it, whether it's time, recovery, all that sort of stuff. That'd be the three ways I'd break it down.
Yeah, and I mean, just thinking about someone doing equestrian and running a sub 4, which I love.
I think it's a good example.
It's a great example. It's a great example. And so, if, as you said, like obviously running and swimming and all of those things go hand in hand, if you aren't a runner, sorry, let me start again. If you're a runner and you want to get into swimming, I guess, or riding, that's not going to affect your progress with running, is it? Or will it? Because I know obviously at the moment I've been running quite a lot, but I want to start getting into swimming. Is that going to, if I drop a session, is that going to help my running still, or am I going to then go back a bit?
Okay, so we're using Georgia today, or are we using Georgia training for a sub 4 hour marathon?
I don't know. Maybe.
So like Georgia today, it doesn't matter because you don't have a primary goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can just, as long as your goal is to eventually do a triathlon, like that is your goal, sometime early 2026. So as long as we are doing some form of swim, bike, and run a couple of times a week, you are moving, and we spoke about this the other week, you're directionally correct, moving towards a goal.
Yeah.
Georgia, who is training for a sub 4 hour marathon, we would start to consider, okay, is your swimming hindering your recovery? Like, did you choose swimming? Like, maybe there's a day where you can only get to the pool at a certain time, and that's actually not beneficial because we want you to do a certain track session or whatever. So it really depends on where we're at and what we're prioritizing. I'm always looking at the way we would write a training program would be put in, or a week of training, we would put in all of the P1 sessions. So we'd call that priority 1. So we'd do priority 1, priority 2, priority 3. P1 sessions go in, P2 sessions next, P3 sessions, and and we would make sure the athlete knows this is your top priority. Then if you feel like you're up to it, you want to do something extra, you can do P2. And then if you're really feeling keen to train, you can do P3, or you've got a particularly open week or whatever it might be.
Yeah, okay. I get you. That makes so much more sense, I guess, because maybe is a Monday, say Monday recovery run, would you classify that as a P1 or a P2 or?
That's probably a P2 to P3. Just depends.
So like replacing a Monday recovery run with a swim isn't going to hinder my performance too much?
No.
Okay, interesting.
No. But then if you were to sub out, say, your Sunday long run, and you'd be like, I want to do a 100K bike and a 3K swim, just as an example, but that's really a bad swap. Like that doesn't help you. Yeah, please don't do that.
Because I've been obviously not toying with the idea. I've just been thinking a lot about, I'm worried that I'm going to lose all of the progress I've made with my running if I start doing triathlons. But I do hear a lot, and I hear you say this a lot, that it does help with my running. But obviously it's not the same exact kind of help. As long as it's a P3 session that I'm swapping out, it's fine.
Again, I'd really only be worried about P1 through 3 if you were training for a primary goal.
Okay.
So like right now you're in this season where eventually you want to do a triathlon. You also want to do a trail run. You're also training for a half marathon, none of which are this like whole life revolves around a goal. They're just like a few things in the future you would like to accomplish. So it's like, I'm not really concerned about priority. Your half marathons first. I'm like, okay, cool. We definitely need to keep your long run in, and we probably need to keep 1 to
speed
2
session.
midweek runs
Yeah.
just to keep that ticking over. Everything else is kind of just swap in and out. And then when you go to triathlon, and because you're only going to do a sprint triathlon, we
Yep.
really don't need a long run. Like you'll probably keep up to an hour and 15, something
Yeah.
like that. And realistically, a run off the bike, that's probably all the running that I would say is compulsory. Maybe a speed session if you're like thinking about doing, if you really want to rip on the run off the bike, because it can be a little bit hard. But I'd be more focused on getting you up to speed on cycling, comfortable in the water, practicing transitions, things like that. So yeah, that's how I would answer that.
It's so interesting. I love it. You guys get to sit in on a coaching call with Matt and I. This is very much what it's like. I'm just like, so can you help me with this?
I actually think it's quite helpful for them because at least I'm getting better at explaining the thought process behind it and like how we would break it down. So then they can just plug themselves into that situation and go, okay, like this is my goal. This is a P1 session for me or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's, I guess, the whole idea of this episode was I've had a few people talking to me because they've heard me talking about wanting to do triathlons. They're like, is that going to affect your running in the future, or is it going to affect XYZ? And I'm like, well, I'm not actually quite sure. So let's talk to Matt about it. But, there's lots of people out there doing a bit of everything. We have some athletes at TPP who are training for half Ironmans. They're also training for a high rocks, race event. I don't know what you call them. And so it's kind of like, how do you find the balance if, maybe all of your goals are important to you? You don't have that big sub 4 hour, like all of your races to you are A races. How do you begin to start fitting all the things in? Maybe for someone who doesn't have a coach who can program it for them, how can they find that balance?
Yeah. So if you're one of those athletes who think every race should be an A race and you just want to go and like every race you need to PB, if I was coaching you, I would definitely be like, okay, like let's break down the psychology of that because that's probably not beneficial and that's not realistic. Like if you just every time you got on the comp floor or on a racetrack or whatever, you PB'd, like eventually you'd be the best in the world, right? And like
Yeah.
there's obviously only one or two people who that'll ever be possible for. So we would break down the psychology of that first. The second part of that would be I would get you to plan out as far ahead as possible. A great example of this is, I'm sure she won't mind, is Megan, one of our TPP athletes. She has got a crazy 2026.
Yeah, she does.
She just wants to chuck her foot into everything. She was doing turf games, high rocks, triathlon, trail running, 2 different marathons, a half marathon. Like she is just, and that's just off the top of my head. I'm sure there's a couple of other things in there too.
She snuck some in. She hasn't told you about yet.
Yeah,
Doing a Georgia.
That's classic. And she'd be like, "Oh yeah, no, I did tell you about that." Like, no, you fucking didn't.
Me with City to Surplus this year.
But yeah, so we lay out the whole year, and then we think, okay, none of these are probably going to be like a true A race. There might be one or two, but like realistically, if you've got 3 or 4 weeks between events and events are different, it's hard to like really peak, taper, get solid training block in. Then what we do is, so we put all the races out over the calendar and go, okay, what overlaps? So what is beneficial for each other?
Mm-hmm.
One thing I have found in coaching is pretty much up to the half marathon distance and high rocks, very, very similar training blocks in terms of running. Just the long run gets a bit longer with half marathon. Most of the high rocks athletes, where they're sort of the 15 to 16 Ks for their long run. If they're a bit more advanced, we'll go up high up, and then half marathons anywhere from 18 to 25. But a lot of the speed work is very, very similar. So cool, we can pair them together. Triathlon, anything up to Olympic, the running for that and a half marathon, very, very similar. So cool, we can pair those together. I start looking for complementary training blocks and see if we can move events, or move training blocks so one runs into the next.
Yeah.
So then we're trying to keep momentum running the whole year, which is very, very difficult. Like there's a reason professional athletes have on season and off season. It's very hard to just go all year and consistently get better. But but that's the way I would try and do it. I would try and look for what complements one another, and try and get them as close to each other as possible. Maybe even hitting 2, 3, 4 events in quite quick concession, maybe over 4, 6, 8 weeks,
Hmm.
having a solid deload, going back into a base block, and then potentially doing that again, hitting 2, 3, 4 events in another small block.
Yeah, because I guess, do you classify though, like A races have to be races that you're, wanting a PB for? Like, I feel like an A race could just be, I just want to run a marathon.
Well, again, that would be athlete dependent. So it feels like your first marathon, then yeah,
Yeah.
that would be an A race.
Yeah.
If you came to me, George, and you're like, I just want to run a marathon, like let's just say you got into London Marathon again, you're heading over. I'd be like,
Hmm.
okay, like we don't. Yes, we would train for it and stuff, but if you wanted to do a triathlon 2 weeks before, like for you, that it wouldn't affect the situation because you just know how to deal with it, you know how to handle it. A marathon for you
Yeah.
at this level isn't a huge deal. But if you're like, I want to break 350 and I also want to do a triathlon 2 weeks before, that's obviously not advantageous. So
No,
I,
yeah.
I am a big. I don't think you need an A race every year. Like I
Yeah.
don't necessarily believe in that. I think if you are doing an A race, that is your focus. Like that is your primary. And even if it's not a PB, it's just ranking your priorities. So again, A, B, C, P1, P2, P3, however you want to break that down.
Hmm.
A race is all about like this is the priority of the year,
Number
priority
one.
of the season, whatever, however you want to break it down. I don't necessarily think the result has to be tied to it. I just think
Mm.
it's a priority thing or a
Yeah.
focus. However you want to break it down.
And just like touching back on what you said, like you definitely don't have to have an A race every single year. And
No.
I was talking to someone about this yesterday. He was saying, he feels like everything's getting a little bit lost in the world of socials and, in community kind of run clubs or triathlon clubs, whatever it might be. Everyone's like, oh, I'm just running a marathon. Oh, I'm just doing an Ironman. It's like,
Mm.
let's go back to having one A race a year, right? I mean, yes, you can have more, go for it if that's what you want to do. But it is also okay to have one a year or one every 2 years because we, we don't always just have to do a marathon and keep trying to beat ourselves constantly. We want to think long term, right? So you want to be like, okay, how can I long term stay doing what I'm doing and love doing what I'm doing? For me, I could see the burnout happening and I'm like, okay, I want to run long term for the rest of my life. If I absolutely crash and burn now, I might not be able to run again. It's, yeah, I don't know. It's on the top of my mind at the moment is A races every single year. And maybe there needs to be a year where you do a little bit of everything and you find other things you might love, like what I'm doing right now. So I find that this is really helpful for people to hear you say as a coach that, yes, you don't actually need to have an A race every single year.
Yeah, again, I think A races like if we look at where A race came from, right? Like it came from track and field. So A race used to be world champs in Olympics, so it was every 2 years.
Yeah.
There's like one weekend every 2 years. So you qualify for the world champs. Like even their qualifying races, that the reason they would do 3, 4, 5 meets leading up to a world champs is because they didn't know like what sort of condition they were going to be in. They didn't really care that. It's like if I'm one of the best, I chuck my hat in the ring 3, 4, 5 times. I'm going to get a spot. I'll go to the next stage, peak and taper, like build up, peak for the world champs, go back down, and then go for the Olympics. I think a lot of people just hear things and run with it because they think it makes them sound smart. So they're like, oh, I've got an A race or this is my A race. I'm like, unless you're actually doing a training block, peaking and tapering, it is actually peak and taper isn't. That's probably not a necessary term. It is, again, it's just your primary focus and something you've just like, this is what I'm working towards. I do not care if it is this year, next year, or in 5 years'
Mm,
time. Me with my sub 10-hour Ironman, I've been training for this for 2.5 years now. And like, I am okay if it takes me 5 years to achieve. But
yeah.
like, that is my A rate. I'm running COSI 100 in 7 weeks. That is not even, if I had to pull out the day before, like, okay, like I'm not going to lose any sleep over it.
Yeah.
But if I had to pull out of an Ironman the day before that I've trained for, it'd be inconsolable, I'd be heartbroken.
Yeah.
So I just think people don't necessarily. I think they hear things and they just run with it because they think that's what they're supposed to do. Um, Whereas I think a race, primary focus, whatever you want to call it, it needs to be something that you are just, I'm working towards this and I do not care how long it takes. Like, this is my goal, this is my focus. So,
Yeah.
like, use sub 4 hour, that was 2 years of just like, that's all I'm doing. Like, I don't care how many times I fail, I'm just going to keep working towards it. It's like me with sub 10. Like, just because I do an Ironman every year and try and go sub 10, like, that does not mean I'm changing my focus. My focus is still this one thing.
Yeah, even if the focus takes you a longer, long time,
Mm-hmm.
that would be like me with getting a Boston qualifier. Like, yeah, one day that is my big dream one day to do that, but that could take me 10 years,
Yeah,
especially,
exactly.
and I'm fine with that because I'm not built fast, so I'd have to really train for that. So I really like when you said, let's use the term priority. Like, it's a priority for you, but it's not, the end of the world if you don't get it straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to go like? Do you want to go
No, no,
further
no.
into that?
No, I don't. I don't. I'm just giggling.
Oh, okay.
And so if you don't really have a race in mind and you're just kind of cruising, how would you split up a week? Say, let's use, for example, you want to do some like one strength session, one kind of, I don't know, group class, you do some swimming, you do some running. How does someone even work out what to do, or do they just choose a day and do it? Is it as easy as that?
I'm a big fan of at least writing it down.
Yeah.
Be like, cool, I want to achieve one strength session, one group class, one swim where I don't know, swim 2Ks, a 5K run, and I want to go on my bike for an hour.
Mm.
Put it all down on a list, put it in your, like, I put all of my training into Google Calendar, and when I want to do it. So, like, I can't have meetings and things booked during it. And if it's on my calendar, I get a notification on my phone. That keeps me accountable.
Yep.
I also I write down in my notebook every day, like, the things I want to get done. I put my training in there as well. So yeah, I would just, if you really don't have like if you're just sort of go as the wind blows sort of thing, and you
Yeah.
don't have a goal, like I don't even have a race on the calendar. I don't even know what I want to do. Don't know if I want to do a triathlon or a marathon or a half marathon. And you just train for fun. Like, do what makes you happy. Write down a few things at the start of the week that, again, is going to move you directionally. Like, you don't want to lose
Yeah.
your fitness. If you have an interest in swimming or cycling or strength, like, chances are you have some idea of something in the future that you might want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just start moving in that direction. You don't have to be like blinkers on, horse down the straight, fucking far lap style, but you can just like, I'm going to go over there. And that seems to be a good direction for me to go, and just start walking.
Yeah. Yeah, like I love that. And look, even just touching on last week's episode where if, thinking about your long-term goals, you can start that kind of thing now.
Mm.
So say obviously that's for one type of person. One of our listeners might not have any goals. Say if you know in the future you've got, you'd like to do a triathlon or like to do a half Ironman or whatever it might be. I guess that's where that planning comes in to play, is where you go, okay, well, I know in maybe a year's time I want to do this, and kind of work backwards. If I don't know how to word this, it's kind of like if you know you have some goals somewhere in the future, like you said, where you have to pair them together. Is that a good idea to look at a calendar over an entire year and pick races that way? Or is there a better way to do it? I don't know. I know there's lots of people out there who are just really confused on what they should be doing.
Mm. So at TPP, we are really big fans of forecasting out as far in advance as possible. So let's just say Georgia wants to qualify for Boston. We would look at her results, look at where the field is, and go, look what the qualifying time is, etc. And go, okay, this might be 5 years, it might be 10 years, like whatever it
Yeah.
is. And then we just start working it back. We've spoke about process goals before. Like, I try not to repeat myself, but for me, it's all about big goal and then all the milestones reverse engineered back. So I don't know what Georgia's qualifying time would be, probably like 3:20, 3:15, something like that.
Yeah, I think you have to get about 3:15. Well, one of our athletes, Ash, she just got, I think, a 3:17
Yeah.
or maybe less, 3:12 maybe, and she qualified. So
Yeah, she's going to run sub 3 at Boston. So
I know, crazy.
yeah.
So amazing.
Yeah, she's
But
an animal.
yeah. I don't think you're repeating yourself. I think it's all really helpful. And so what you run through with us about our goals and stuff. Do you
Mhm.
want to just run through what that is and what you ask people to do so that maybe that people listening can do the same thing?
Yep. So not everyone has 3 to 5 year goals. So
Mhm.
if you're not thinking that far ahead, don't feel weirded out. Okay. A lot of
Totally.
the majority of our athletes are working sort of 12 months in advance. It's
Yeah.
only the athletes who are everyone's pretty much an A types, but probably people listening to this podcast are A types as well. But I'd say like there's A types and then there's like A types.
There's Georgia.
Yeah. So
Lena.
so if you are working 3 to 5 years out, this same principle will apply. You just obviously got to extend the time horizon. 12 months out, just be like, cool, what do I want to achieve? So write all the things down and then I would rank them. So again, what is P1, P2, P3, A, B,
Mhm.
C, 1, 2, 3, like whatever
Yeah.
however you want to rank it.
Yeah.
And then just start to drop them on the calendar. So I will, on Training Peaks, we can look at an annual calendar for each athlete and we can sort of look at it like that. You can bring up a big thing on Google Calendar, whatever. You can buy a friggin' calendar from Officeworks, a big paper one.
Yeah.
Um,
For the wall.
yeah. Uh, and then I'd just start to reverse engineer it back and be like, okay, like I want to run Sydney Marathon in August. Okay, cool. So for me to run Sydney Marathon in August, I know I need and that's my A race. I know I need 12 to 16 weeks uninterrupted training.
Mhm.
I would map that out on the calendar and be like, cool, all in red, Sydney Marathon block. For me, that would be don't do any other races. Don't do anything. Like this is just where you're locked in. And then maybe before that, you're like, oh, I want to do a high rocks and I want to do a triathlon. You might make that a different color, maybe make that yellow, and you'd be like, cool, like I'm really flexible in this period of time, and I can jump in and out of different events and things like that. It is hard to give a prescription to people because it is so nuanced and like
Yeah.
the more popularity this podcast has got and the more people who reach out to me out of context,
Yeah.
the more I understand that. Like I'm in quite a privileged position because I do have such a close relationship with the TPP athletes. Like I talk to almost all of them every 48 hours sort of thing.
Yeah.
I know them inside and out, so I know what they're thinking when they word certain things. I know that's not what they mean. Georgia.
Me. Matt, Matt knows me so well now. It's really scary. He's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Shit."
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
Yeah. So I would just let me. Yeah, this is really tough because I'm trying to give people all the
Advice, but
tool.
without,
Yeah,
yeah.
without advice, without it being a prescription. So I would put your A or priority one races in the
Yep.
calendar, and then I would make sure the time around that is blocked out. Be like, cool, like just for this 12 weeks, I'm fully focused on this, or 8
Mhm.
weeks, or depending on your fitness level, all those sorts of things. You'll know how long training you need. And then the rest of the time, I'd be like, cool, that is my time to fuck around. That is my time to do as I please and jump into a few different things. The only exception to that would be like if you are absolutely adamant, I'm running a sub 4 hour marathon, a sub 10 hour Ironman, whatever. That's where I'd be like big into the process goals. Be like, cool, sub 4 hour marathon. I know I need to probably run like a 150 half or between a 150 and 145. Where is that on the calendar? And again, I would make that. It sounds counterintuitive, but I would also make that process goal maybe like an A1 priority or an A2
Yeah.
priority.
Because
So
that's
like,
helping your race down the track.
exactly. Yeah. So like
Yeah.
while it's not the whole year sitting on it, it's like this is a fantastic indicator to know I am on track to the big event.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
I did that. I did that for Sydney for Gold Coast the first time round, we made sure that I could run the Hoka half in under 2 hours. That was a process goal. I had to
Yep.
tick that off and then we go, okay, you're on track for your next goal. So I totally get what you mean. in making sure that there's little things you can tick off on the way, as we spoke about last week, making sure, you don't necessarily have this big goal with nothing before that to kind of get you to that goal, whether that's business or life or whatever. You do have to have the little things to go, okay, I'm on track. Yes, I've ticked that job off, tick that off, tick that off.
Yeah.
If just like, I know in the chat we've asked before, like, what's your long-term goal and stuff like that. Is anything else people can add to that? And maybe that's a little bit more personal, whether that's, do you encourage people to have other goals besides just their big A race? Like maybe that's just like a fun little, I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It really depends on the athlete. Like some athletes just aren't wired that way, or some people just aren't wired that way. They're just
Okay.
like me, for example. I am just goal to goal to goal, and that's just how my brain works. Like I find it really hard to engage with things that are not the big thing, or it's helping me get to the big thing.
Yeah.
Whereas we'll use Megan again as an example. She loves just jumping in and out of things. Like she wants to challenge herself. She went and
Yeah.
did a 32-kilometer trail run the other weekend with us, like where I ran my 50. She just likes being little bit spontaneous and a little bit rogue and being fit enough to be able to do all those things, and that brings her joy. So a lot of it is what makes you happy. Like
Yeah.
as corny as that sounds, but like
No,
that's
not at
important.
all. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a normal thing to do. Some
yeah.
of us.
I mean, but like for you or for Megan or whoever, like that makes them happy. For me, that doesn't make me happy. Like me chasing the big goal, that makes me happy. So again, everyone is just different and what sort of how their brain is wired.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of halfway between the two where I like to have one big goal to work towards, like directionally, like you
Mm-hmm.
said. But then I also like to do things in between that are a little bit fun and keep that
Yeah.
spark alive. I think that's really important to me as well, is to make sure that I'm doing the fun things that aren't as serious as, my training. It's like me with doing this half marathon at the end of the year. I'm just doing it for fun. I
Mm-hmm.
don't need to do it. There's no reason why I need to train for a half marathon, but I'm just doing it because it keeps the spark alive and it makes, I can go and film and do all those kind of fun things. Whereas, the big A race, you've got to be really serious about. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I got another good example. I'm sure she won't mind either. Jordan. So Jordan has run Gold Coast Marathon where she PB'd, where she wanted to break 4. I think she ran 350 something, and then she ran Sydney and she ran 340
I know.
mid, something like that, 345, 346, something like that.
I wish I
And
could say it's so unfair, but, she obviously deserves that.
she
Like,
she
damn you,
worked her
girl.
ass. She worked her ass off. But she's also in Melbourne Marathon. So she was going to do all 3, and she was messaging me the other day saying, I'm umming and ahhing about it, don't really know. And I just sort of said to her, I was like, you've got nothing left to prove. Like, you have run 2 marathons, 2 PBs, 2 outstanding performances, literally back to back. It's
Yeah.
like I would only do the marathon if it's going to bring you joy, if it's going to make you happy. If you enjoy doing the 42.2, go do it, have fun, don't put any pressure on yourself. If you don't, there's no, like, drop down to the half, have some fun, go run it, then go out with your friends afterwards or go get a drink or, do whatever you like. You're not going to be fucking wrecked for 2 days afterwards.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. So I would really ask yourself, like, what are you trying to prove? What are you trying to achieve? What does it mean to you? All of those, like, I know a lot of coaches talk about that, but they don't and maybe frame it correctly. Really trying to find, they say, what does it mean to you? And then whatever the athlete says, they listen to and go, cool. And then they move on rather than being like, all right, like, let's go a level deeper or let's go 2 levels deeper and be like, what does sub 4 mean to you? Like, why? Is that just something you saw on Instagram? Is that just something that you
Yeah.
feel like that's the benchmark I need to achieve? Because that's not a good reason. And then, yeah, so that's another way of like breaking down those priorities.
Yeah, and it's like you've said before, is this your goal or is this someone else's goal that you think you need to be doing as well?
Mm-hmm.
And that's so, even just when you're like, what are you trying to prove? It's so true because you see so many people out there like, I'm going to run 3-4 marathons a year. And it's like, okay, if you love running
Why?
marathons, great. But then it's
Yeah.
like, do you really love running marathons or are you just doing it for other reasons to say you did it, So, and that's something I have to toy with a lot because it's like, am I doing it for content or am I doing it because I really want to do it? And that even to this day, I still go, do I actually want to do this? So I have to really think about these things too. So I think it's really good that everyone really sits in that space that, am I trying to prove something or is this for me?
And just to be clear, it's okay for you to want to do it for, not you, but the people. If you
Yeah.
want to do it for content, if you want to do it to be like, I fucking did this and you didn't. Like, if you like that, if that vanity metric means, I don't say vanity is a disparaging term. I just
No,
say,
yeah.
if that means something to you, if that's important to you, if that's a part of your life, cool, go for it.
Yeah.
Like
Some people that fuels their fire, right?
exactly, like that's your why. Just because it is not some deep intrinsic, oh my god, like I dream about it and it keeps me up at night. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like that both are correct. Like, it's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Both are okay. You're
Yeah.
allowed to
You
be
just got
like,
to be honest with yourself of what it is. Don't be like, I do it for content, but you're going to put on your content. It's this heartfelt, super
woo
meaningful thing.
woo.
You're like, no, bitch, I get paid to do this. Okay.
Yeah.
Asics is going to, sorry, not Asics.
No.
This shoe
Definitely
brand
not
is going
Asics.
to pay me a lot of money to run a marathon, and I am totally okay with that. Like,
Yeah.
if that is the reason, go for it.
Yeah, totally. And look, that's also something I deal with lately. Is like a brand is like, I want you to go and do this. And I'm like, that actually doesn't bring me joy. So I'm
Yeah.
not actually going to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's another thing in a world of when, becoming an influencer or a content creator, what are you going to call it? That's another thing you've got to think of. It's like, okay, well, do I want to turn this money down? Do I not want to? Is this going to affect my training for years to come? Like, that's a whole nother thing you got to think at
Mm.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Anyway, we could go on forever about this.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's turned into a bit of a waffle.
Yeah, it
That's
has,
the
it has.
point
But
though, right?
I feel like, again, if you see how our brains work and how we sort of set our goals and how we work through things, it is far more relatable to people than just do this.
Yeah, I think about that a bit. I love that, you and I have a chat, and I was thinking before we jumped on the mic, I was like, okay, what else could I add to my intro? And I always strive to be like your best friend in running. Like, I'm the girl you want to come to be like, oh, babe, I've done this. What do I do? I always try to be that person. And I love that you and I can give both sides, whereas I can be that, I can ask the silly questions that I think, maybe I would find silly, but someone else probably thinks it's silly too, and it's not silly. And
Uh-huh.
then you could come with a coaching perspective to be like, no, actually, that's a pretty normal question to ask. So,
It's
yeah,
funny you say that because we have a rule at TPP: no silly, like no such thing as a silly question.
yeah,
So, and you'd be surprised how many people will put at the start like, I think this is a silly question, and you're like, actually, every single athlete I've ever coached has asked me it, so it's not
yeah.
silly. Yeah.
Or is it really a silly question? I bet you it's not.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, we get so many DMs from people being like, I know this is a really dumb question, or this is
No
such a
such
silly
thing.
question. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about here. There's literally no such thing. Like, you
Yeah.
could ask me a million times. Like, I get asked so many random questions. Nothing is new. So, yeah, I love that we can give that to people. Is we're not like reading off a script. Like, I know you hate, and I can see why, because it's not as authentic, and we are 100% authentically us.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're picking on you for a second, Georgia, like you do not read off a script for any of your social media. Like,
No.
you just talk to camera. And it's like there's no difference in the podcast. Just talk
Yeah.
to camera. Like, as soon as you don't have your phone, you're like, what do I say? And you're shaking a bit of paper, and you're like front of the class going, oh no, I don't know what to say.
I know we were actually talking about this just after the swim before about, how you, Matt, you're so analytical with coaching and stuff like that, which is why you're such a phenomenal coach. But then when it comes to like run clubs and public speaking, you always just let me do that because you know
Yep.
that that's where I shine. And it's so true. I love just getting up in front of people and just completely winging it. And so it is funny because, yeah, when I'm running and talking on camera and stuff, a lot of the time it's such a waffle. I have to probably refilm it a couple of times because I'm like talking about just absolute crap.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yes, I do that a bit. But yeah, speaking of questions, I've got two questions today. If you are happy to answer them
Go
to
for it.
oblige us. So I have a question here from Ryan. When training for a marathon, my longest run is 38 Ks, which is 4 Ks short of a marathon. When training for a miler, does that mean the long run is approximately 140 kilometers? If not, can you explain the science behind almost running a marathon during training?
Yeah, so
There's
We
two
would,
questions in there, I think.
yeah, there is. So the way the 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 big part of that is I call it total recoverable volume. So TRV. Um, Take me for example. I just ran 50 Ks on the weekend, and I was pretty much out of action. If I didn't train during the week, if I didn't fuck myself over, I probably would have been 4 days of no training. Okay, off 50 Ks. Now, first 50K of the block, that would probably shorten down to 48 hours maybe. If you ran 140 Ks, you're going to be out for 3 weeks. Or 2 weeks. You're going to miss 2 weeks of training. So what we want to try and establish is the total amount of volume, or the largest amount of volume that you can accrue and still recover and be able to train the next day. And the ultimate goal would be, and I haven't done the math on the miler yet. I actually haven't coached a miler athlete yet. I've only coached up to 100K, but over 100Ks, we would want to get to somewhere around 80-ish Ks in a 24-hour block. So that would be pairing long run Saturday, long run Sunday together. Maybe that's a 50 and a 30. Maybe it's 240s. Maybe it's a 60 and a 20, depending on the athlete. So if an athlete can handle 60 Ks and be all right, most of the time you'll find it is probably a 20-40 or a 30-40 split, excuse me. So that's realistically the big thing is if you ran 140-ish Ks, unless you are just a seasoned athlete, a seasoned miler athlete, and if you're asking this question, I'm assuming you're not, you just
no hate,
just like if you've run a few milers, like you're not asking me, someone who's not coached a miler athlete, how to do it, and you've probably got your long run down pat. I would say it's just total recoverable volume.
Yeah. So what would I know, like, I feel like 80 Ks over 24 hours or 48, whatever it was you just said. Sorry, I just blanked out a little bit.
Yeah, all good.
Stressing me out thinking about it. How far would the longest run? That doesn't make sense. Like, how do you, like, that doesn't feel like enough. If you're going to go and run 160 kilometers, wouldn't on the day you just want to...
So that 80 Ks was based off a 100K run.
Oh, okay. What would the miler be? What would the longest run for that be?
I said I haven't coached a miler athlete.
So I know.
Yeah. I would assume, again, it'd be hard to do more than sort of 50, 60. Unless you're like a super seasoned miler athlete and you can handle it. And you can, but even then, like, okay, you go run 80, 90, like, what the big difference is when you start getting to those distances is how much you walk. Okay, so like you can't think of 100K and 100-mile as a running race.
No, because you have the breaks, right, where you're stopping and having a cup of noodles and stuff, and walking a bit too.
Not walking a bit, like probably walking between 30 and 50%, depending on the athlete.
Right. Okay.
Like it's almost a hiking race, like with a little bit of running.
I'll have to ask some friends I know who've done the miler what they did. Yeah.
Also course dependent, but and performance dependent too. Is your goal just to finish, or is your goal to go out and qualify for Mont Blanc? Like, again, all that matters. For your first one, like, I would just be concerned about total volume over the week. So that would be the third component of that. Is something we look for with ultra endurance athletes is how much volume are you accruing over a week. So marathon, peak marathon, 100K a week. I would say for my 100K, mine's probably going to be around 150 kilometers per week. For a miler, again, it depends what you can recover from, but you're probably getting closer to 200Ks in a week, and you probably want to put that together a couple of weeks in a row. So there's a whole bunch of different ways you can approach it. Again, it depends on availability for training. It depends on family commitments, work commitments, etc. Yeah. So, like, if you can just train all day, every day, just go run a marathon a day and you'll be fine. If you're working 9 to 5 and you've got to run an hour before work and an hour after work, like, there's a whole bunch of different strategies you can take. But that would be my most that would be my 3 is total recoverable volume, total volume within 24 hours, and then total weekly volume.
Does that apply? I know the end of that question, Ryan was asking, what's the science behind running 38Ks for a long run before a marathon?
Uh-huh.
Does that same thing apply, the total recoverable volume?
Yep,
Or
pretty
is it,
much.
yeah.
Again, so like when we talk about the difference between trail running or ultra running and road running, like you're running that 38K hard. So
Mm,
let's say, and everyone's long runs different for the marathon. Let's just say anywhere from 32 to 38, you're going to sit somewhere in that window. You're going to run that hard. So the pounding on your body, the pounding on the cement that whole time, that's a very, very different. Like I would say I'm significantly sorer after a 42-kilometer road marathon than I am after a 50K ultra marathon with 2,000 meters of climbing.
yeah. Because it's
So
softer
it's
and
yeah, softer. It's just different muscle groups, different impact. You're not pushing your heart rate sort of to that top upper zone 3 to bottom of zone 4. It's very zone 2 based. So there's just a lot of different factors around it. But when we talk about the marathon, like you're sort of sitting on that fucking razor's edge for 3 to 5 to 6 hours depending on the athlete. So like you need to learn how to do that. Like you don't do that in ultra running. It's just not the same sport.
okay. That makes sense. Hopefully that's helped you, Ryan, wrap your head around it because I can totally agree. Like
Shoot me
that
a
was,
message, Ryan, if you got more questions.
yeah, that was a bit confusing. So as in, not what you just said was confusing, just confusing how you would work out how far you'd run. So
Yeah.
makes sense. The last question here is from Shelby. How funny it starts with, okay, bit of a weird question. Is it normal to be hungry while running? Lately, I've been feeling really hungry during a run, even with eating. I usually eat a gel or 4 Cliff Blocks or some lolly snakes every half an hour. Is it normal that I'm this hungry during a run?
I would say no. Like,
Oh, interesting.
again, like there's so much like context missing. um, like if you've just woken up first thing in the morning and you're just going for your 1 hour easy run, you haven't had breakfast. Okay, sure, like you'll be hungry afterwards. Or if you train early in the morning and you struggle to get food in, maybe you're just like a glass of orange juice kind of person and you're running out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, like I could understand being hungry. If you're fully prepped and you're like, okay, like I'm doing my long run and you're an hour in and you're starving, I would say that is not normal. I'd say that is like a case of underfueling. So again, it's like so just athlete and situation dependent.
Yeah. So when you say it's a case of underfueling, is that you're not eating enough before your run kind of
Uh-huh.
thing? Or you're not carb loading? What do you mean by that?
I'd just say, yeah, you're not having adequate fuel before your run. So having, like when we go back and listen to our episode with Lauren, having a proper breakfast before you train is anything over sort of that 60 to 75 minute mark. I'd really be wanting to having breakfast unless you're specifically like training fat adaptation, but that's a
Mm,
whole different conversation. Um, yeah, like if you're getting that hungry, and just thinking back to the question, you're having snakes and gels and stuff. So I'm assuming it's on your long run,
yeah,
or
I
at
think
least
so.
a 90+ minute run. And chances are you're not having adequate breakfast
Yeah.
or
So
adequate meal beforehand.
yeah, yeah. And that might look like making sure you're having, instead of just heading out with a glass of orange juice, maybe you then need to go, okay, oh, my stomach is grumbling talking about this. It's like, oh, yummy. I was just thinking about bagels and how hungry I was, and I was like, "Oh, that'd be so nice right now." Classic. Says the girl who just ate like 2 pieces of cinnamon scroll. Yeah, so that might look like having a bagel with some jam and a banana before you run instead of
Mhm.
just having a glass of orange juice. Or maybe instead of having the snakes, because I know more whole foods, not that a snake is a whole food, but an actual food, they take a little bit longer to break down, right? Instead of
Yep.
having, maybe you need to look at having a gel that's got more carbs in it as opposed to having, the snakes that take a longer to break down. So maybe that's why, is that you're not fueling correctly on your runs?
I would say they're two different things. Like feeling hungry and bonking are two different things. At least how I would get an athlete to explain it to me.
Okay. Yeah.
If you're just like, I was hungry, but I hit all my paces and everything, I'd be like, okay, like we just need to have some food beforehand. So your like body is satiated. If you like got an hour and a half into a long run and you're meant to go 2 hours and an hour and a half and you just hit the wall and just like
Yeah.
couldn't run, like that's a very different conversation.
Okay. Oh my God, my stomach. I couldn't. When you're like, oh, sorry, guys, my stomach is going crazy. I'm surprised you can't hear it on the mic. It's the talking about food. So, yeah, I guess I don't even know how to go on for that. Oh, well, that was episode 38. Any last words of wisdom there, Matt?
No, I think you left us on a good note.
Oh, that was
That's showbiz, eh?
That's showbiz. Episode 38 of Beyond the Finish Line. Make sure you head over to Instagram and follow us at Beyond the Finish Line _pod and head to wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you like, subscribe, download, leave a review, tell all your friends. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening.
Hooroo.
Bye.